Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Halloween special right here on the Kev Baker Show in what is a very special broadcast indeed, because we are doing a simulcast in conjunction with our good friends here on the network, fellow host Brent Thomas. He is here. He is live, or at least I hope he will be in just a moment. We had a little bit of a Skype glitch before the show. So I hope, ladies and gentlemen, I hope we are going to be good to go in a minute. You will be able to see my ugly mush on the live stream, the simulcast on YouTube, just shortly. But bear with me, folks, because it would appear that we've got gremlins on the line this Halloween. Yes, indeed. So I'm just going to hurriedly message Brent. I hope you were all over there for our daytime stream today at the Safe Space on YouTube. It was good hanging out. Myself and Scotty Lopez, we hung out. And Brent is unavailable. I will try and call again one more time. Hang on. Let's see. We had it working perfectly as well, folks. You're going to love this. It looks absolutely dope when we get it going. If we get it going. I hope we get it going. Please let it get going. Yes, of course, our Halloween special today. And I hope you're not getting pestered too much if you're in the UK right now. The door will be ringing off the bell. People coming to your door in various forms of fancy dress and trying to con you out of sweeties and candy and everything else out there. And I'm going to have to call Brent again. Brent, are you there, brother? I got stuck. Okay, now hang on. I will try and add you again. Stand by. You see, I was explaining to Brent just before the show that sometimes when we do this, because Skype is made by Microsoft, here he is, he's here, yay, there he is. Because Skype is made by Microsoft, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real crazy animal to try and control on the back end. And then when you're also going to TFR, the home of the Kev Baker Show, the #1 network, tfrlive.com, plus YouTube, things can get a little bitty strange. So there he is, the man himself, the man behind the paranormal portal. And I must say, Brent, you know, myself, Scott, and Joe, we are very, very proud of the fact, not only to have you on the network, sir, but the fact that you come on right after a Freaky Friday. I can't think of a better show for me and the guys to prepare the audience for, because, you know, I would arguably say that not only are you the #1 paranormal show on TFR, but with all of the bedtime stories and all of the streaming and everything that's going on as well, Brent, I am predicting big things for the paranormal portal in 2020, and I can see you going to #1, full stop. TFR, anywhere, dude. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm just honored. Thank you so much. I got to tell you though, when I got that time slot, I was extraordinarily nervous to be following you guys because I mean you've been doing this a long time. You guys have this great chemistry and this synchronicity between you, and it's just so smooth. And then for me to be following that, I was like, oh God, that's a tough act to follow. But it's been great. You guys have been amazing, always promoting the show, the portal, and letting people know. I got to tell you though, for the first period of time there, the TFR chat would go like from, just full. And then all of a sudden it was just like, there's like 5 names there. I'm like, oh.
But the thing is, though, Brent, I've noticed over time, and people have got in touch with me, and they've even said to me, it used to be when Freaky Friday was finished, that it was kind of almost like an anticlimax, because they were really getting into the info, getting into the woo, and then it would be done. But then, over time, people have started to write to me saying, Kev, this is brilliant, because you finish up and then we get Brent. And they even say to me, have you heard of Brent Thomas? I feel like saying, well, I am on the same network. I have had him on the show before. But, brother, I'm just really pleased with what we're doing. And you're definitely the #1 paranormal show on TFR. Freaky Friday is more the abnormal kind of genre as opposed to the paranormal, right?
Yeah, but you guys do a lot with the woo and stuff. So I mean, it's a perfect marriage between the two shows. And I just think you guys are fantastic. And you've been incredibly good to us on the Paranormal Portal. So I really thank you for that. And I love listening to you guys. So I'll be prepping. I'll be getting ready for my show, and I got Freaky Friday going, and I'm sitting here laughing and stuff. So it's just a great family.
And Brent, I think, you'll know the story of the Kev Baker show. I kind of used to cover all the politics and all that kind of gumph, and I would tickle around the edges of the paranormal, and it would be the favourite stuff I would talk about. But then over time, especially in recent months and the past year or so, I've just become so burnt out when it comes to looking at regular news and all the theatre and all the crap that goes along with it, that I'm so happy that we've moved kind of more towards your neck of the woods, the paranormal stuff. And what I've found is I was quite kind of cautious to begin with, because I thought maybe we'll lose a large swathe of the audience, but it's been the opposite. The people that came to listen to the politics and the CERN and everything else going on, that they absolutely love this new direction we're going in. And I think, and I'll ask you this, but do you think people now, in the times that we're living in, are more open to the kind of stuff that we talk about?
I think first of all, let me just speak to the politics stuff. I think anytime you cover politics, you're only going to appeal to those people who share your political ideals, especially now since it's so absolutely polarized. So you're always going to limit your audience to either left or right, and sometimes people in the middle will dance between. But it's just so much vitriol and so much hatred, and it's so heavy and it's so ugly. So I mean, I can't even watch the news anymore, brother, without feeling like I got ulcers. It's just way too upsetting. So, I do think that people are looking for an escape, and they're looking for the magic in the world that we once had, when there was maybe more of an innocence of things. But, I think people love the idea that there's still mysteries, that there's still things we haven't got sorted out and things we have to discover. And people love to dream. And it's like, in some ways, it's like reclaiming that innocence of childhood, of having that open mind where everything's possible, and you weren't chained to these, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, in your cubicle kind of deal. I mean, you can live and explore, I think a lot of it is because there have been enough people like us and before us, like Art Bell and those people that really cut the path for us to have this dialogue, because it didn't exist before then. It was just B movies and the horror films.
Absolutely. That's why I'm always quick to kind of pay respect and give credit to the likes of Art Bell, Clyde Lewis, Coast to Coast, Chris and Cherie. If it wasn't for Chris and Cherie, if I hadn't heard them doing what they do, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So if it wasn't for these people, it certainly would have been a lot harder for us. And talking of the stuff that we do, now, yesterday on the live stream, you were mentioning towards the end that today, of course, Halloween, how could anyone forget? But you've got a massive stream lined up for later, Brent. I'm looking forward to it. So tell myself and the rest of the audience what's happening on the parathon.
So the parathon is going to be tonight. It's an experimental show for us. We've always had from our listeners had people going, "Oh, the show is too short. You guys should do way longer shows, and maybe you should do a marathon." And so that was kind of the running gag in the chat room forever. And it's very humbling and wonderful that people want to listen to me more. I'm not, other than the show, I'm not accustomed to that in my life. But people are like, "Yeah, we want more. We want more." And so I thought of the Halloween coming up. And I was like, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see how long a Paranormal Portal marathon is. It might just be 3 hours. It might be 10 hours. I don't know. But we're just going to go. We're going to have fun. We're going to, explore lots of different ideas and paranormal. We got the phone lines open for participation. The chat room, of course, or in our YouTube channel will be, rolling. And we just are. It's going to be exciting. Now, the tough part of it is it is a work week. So I'm not expecting, to have a huge crowd all night long. But I expect that people will show up and spend at least part of it with us, the ones that normally do, and maybe some new ones. But it's just it's an experiment of sorts, but it should be a lot of fun.
Brother, I can't wait for it, honestly. And somebody in the chat room there was saying that Coast to Coast, it was Rosanna saying Coast to Coast taught them so much. And that is so true. But I like to think of TFR as, and this is no criticism of Coast to Coast, but I like to think of TFR as like Coast to Coast for adults. It's like put your big boy pants on, because if you're going to call into Brent, you're going to get a far, and again, I love George Norrie, but I think you're probably going to get far much more bang for your free buck if you phone into the Paranormal Portal, don't you think?
Well, I like to think so.
Big time. So tell me, Halloween then. What's the first thing that comes to your mind on Halloween? You know, witches, paranormal. What is it that Brent Thomas is tuning into this Halloween?
I think of candy.
There's plenty of that going around. I can't wait to get off of here. I'm going to be stuffing my face, Brent. I truly, truly am. And I like the Superman costume. I like that.
I even managed to put the swish in my hair there, so I don't know if you can see that on the on the camera.
I can, and I'm hoping you've got a cape somewhere as well. You need the cape, dude.
The wife's got it, so no, it's I don't know. I thought, well, what can I wear that would be? I don't know. I wear this shirt all the time anyway, so it's more of just a last ditch Hail Mary.
We were looking at some really bad costumes today, my man. That one there is a winner. Trust me. When you see what some people are wearing this Halloween, that's a winner. So I was asking you. On you go.
I was gonna say I gotta tell you, I watched that segment and it was hilarious. It was awesome, and I hope you don't mind if I borrow that concept for the parathon and do some more deep diving on that.
Absolutely, dude. You see, some people seem to think that if somebody comes along and maybe shows a bit of your video or takes a bit of the content you were talking about, some channels out there, they get so pissed, they get so upset with things. Me, I take that as like a slap on the back, you know. Because you're obviously doing something that's inspired another channel to look deeper into it. So it's all good.
Yeah. No, I do. I did like that. You know, I got to tell you, Kevin, you know, and this isn't just me trying to blow up your ego or anything, but I've actually taken a lot of cues from Freaky Friday and from how you do things, because you've got a great delivery, you've got a great presence, and it's so relaxed, and people are resonating with that, obviously. So I did watch you and taking notes.
Good
and,
man.
I don't know if you see that in the portal or not, but that's definitely my intention.
You know,
is to have the same feel.
Brent, if I could have the content to match my accent, I'd be winning, man. I'm telling you. But listen, dude, listen, on a more serious note, I done a show just recently with somebody called Tia, the TV psychic. Lovely woman. She had been on TV with the Housewives of New Jersey. She had her own TV show. She's somebody that follows Wicca. She's she's into the druid stuff, all that kind of things. And it really, really caused so much controversy, Brent. It was outrageous. You know, it started what we called the holy war of social media in 2019. And I was going to ask you, why do you think, is it just ingrained belief systems that have people so fearful, so worried about this day of the year?
You know, I think so. I think that, you know, there's a lot of dogma behind it, where people feel that the definition of the veil being the thinnest means that evil's closer. But I don't think that's it at all. It's just there's a barrier believed to be an energetic barrier between this world and the next, and the thinning of that barrier is supposed to be a good thing. It's about revering and having communication with those you love and feeling closer to them. It's not meant to be a dark, horrible thing. I mean, it's been commercialized to that effect, and in a fun way for the most part. But I think that a lot of people are so protective of their paradigm, and when a season comes around like this, and when the visualizations and stuff, they threaten that. People, I guess you see the worst in people sometimes when they have their paradigm threatened, and you know, for whatever reason, I don't know why, because you know, I believe faith is a very personal thing. People want to make it a public thing, and it's not meant to be pushed on everyone else. It's meant to bring you closer to your God, and whatever that means to you. And I don't mean to preach at all, but I think people feel that it's their job to strike down anything in their presence that they don't agree with. And it's that preoccupation with other people that usually reflects that those people have the most to work on.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. My faith, my beliefs, I try and keep them to myself, you know, because I find that much like politics, talking about these things, it doesn't bring anyone together. It just serves to divide us more and more. And that's why I like something like Halloween, where we can all, I would like to think, leave all that stuff at the doorstep, step into the creepy castle, and get our woo on. What's wrong with people, dude?
I don't know, but I mean, and the funny thing is you mentioned that the politics we're seeing, it's a mentality that some people have, that things should be my way, and I as long as people are so tenacious about that, that's why we have our political systems the way they are. That's why we have these kind of outrages that you're discussing, and I think as people just learn to take care of your lawn and let the neighbor take care of his, and enjoy your patio.
Now, I can imagine tonight up where I used to come from, up Loch Ness way, I can imagine that this will be a very active time of year for people that are into the occult, and they'll be, what's the word, gravitating towards a natural portal in the Highlands, Brent, and that is, of course, Aleister Crowley's house. Now, Aleister Crowley's house, some people think, it's burnt down, but the bigger picture is that it's raging Crowleyites that have taken the place over, and they're going to be opening a spiritual centre for people to come and learn Thelema and the ways of Aleister Crowley. Now, what would you say to people considering going to somewhere like that? Is it just harmless fun, or is there a lot more to be wary of?
I think that probably throughout Crowley's career, he probably did some dark things, and whenever you do dark things, you may be creating a resonance, or at least an imprint. He possibly did good things too. I don't really pretend to know too much about Aleister Crowley, but I really believe that energy is imprinted on an area based upon the things that have happened there. And we hear stories about that, like in Civil War battlefields, where suddenly these apparitions will appear and reconstruct their battle, and it might just be residual, it might be intelligent, but I think that anywhere there's darkness, you certainly should be careful. You certainly should, probably not play with elements you don't understand. I don't believe you should ever open a portal you don't know how to close. It's like, don't play with stuff that you don't understand if you're not prepared for the ramifications of it. Now, some people just, that's just ridiculous. But I cover thousands of stories on the portal of people that's ridiculous, and then their furniture started moving, so.
No, you're absolutely right. And we were looking at a story the other day. I'm just going to bring it up here for people to see. I'll pull it over onto here, and we'll go here. I think this is the right screen I've got it on now. Yeah. This is it here. That was Johnny Whistles that had showed me this. I'll try and get rid of this here. Connect with Facebook, blah, de, blah. Who owns the world's largest Ouija board? Now, look at the size of this thing, Brent. Look at it. Now, you were talking there about opening portals, right? Now, again, I equate this probably a bit too sensationally to handing a loaded gun to somebody that doesn't know one end of the gun from the other. Wouldn't you agree that using a Ouija board, as harmless as it may be, like you say, opening portals, that's no laughing business?
So with the Ouija board, I mean, here's the problem with the Ouija board. I mean, people can use it, and 99% of the time it'll just be harmless fun. But there's also the 1% where things do seem to go sideways. And with the Ouija board, you have to remember what the whole concept behind a Ouija board is, that you are sitting around there with a friend or two. All your hands are resting there, and you're saying, "Spirits, does anybody want to talk to us? Please come through, come into the board." Well, you are at that point making yourself a blind channel. You don't know what's there. You're just making this open call, and perhaps something's going to answer. So you have now welcomed in what could be a very negative, powerful spirit to participate in your body or your energy in order to move a planchette around. Now, most people think that the planchette moves by itself, but if your fingers are resting on it, you are sharing in the energy field of that, and therefore you are a part of that circuit. Now, whether it's the spirit manipulating you subconsciously to move it, and that's what creates the motion, or whether it's indeed using an energy field generated by people to move it, the point is that for any kind of darkness to grab hold of you, it's got to get to you. And a Ouija board is a blind channel. So by opening yourself up to that, without any concept of what is around you and what could be lurking there waiting, It's just incredibly dangerous in that regard. Now, I do think that Ouija boards can be used very, very responsibly, and but it takes a lot of preparation. It's not just the point of pulling a board out of a cardboard box with a plastic planchette, throwing it down and getting some soda. It has to do with setting an environment, much like any real medium or psychic will set their environment first. They will tune the environment. They'll use crystals, they'll use incenses, they'll use sounds, they will use many things to attune the environment and to hopefully keep out darkness. And so I think that that is important, setting the environment first, and then additionally, you have to know how to close it. And moving a little plastic piece over the word goodbye is not actually closing a portal. It's not doing anything. It's just you're just thinking, okay, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah.
But there's a spiritual resonance that's taking place there that you need to diffuse. It's an energetic resonance that's happening, so it needs to be diffused and released and closed. And if you don't know how to do that, you shouldn't probably start.
And one of the problems that I've come across in my life personally is usually when talk of a Ouija board arises, in Scotland anyway, it's usually after a few drinks have been swallowed and you're literally ingesting spirits at the same time. Now that, Brent, in my opinion, and I've been there and I stupidly took part in things like that in my youth, that is absolutely crazy now that I know what I know, because it's called spirits for a reason. And I'm one of these people that gets blind drunk and somebody definitely possesses me. So you add drink, you add an irresponsible use of the Ouija board. It's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. And I don't say that to scare people, Brent. I say that hopefully to put some people off when they're maybe in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, if you look at the side of the box, I got one up on the wall here, but it's all nailed up. It's just decorative. It's never been used. But if you look on the box, it's recommended for ages 8 and up, Kev.
8 and up.
8 and up.
8
Yeah.
and up. That is terrifying. And may I just add that you have got the best set on the whole of streaming, of TFR, of everything, dude. Look at that. Come on, man. That's the kind of thing that I can only dream about here, I'm telling you. But listen, before we go to the break, I mentioned Crowley's house there.
Yeah.
Where is it that stands out in your mind? Somewhere you've been or somewhere where you would like to go for the paranormal woo?
I think that would be a place that I would be interested in going, but I definitely want to do a whole lot of prepping for something like that, because I don't know. I mean, if he was doing so much high magic in a place like that and very dark high magic, then you're just, it's got to be it's got to be something you walk into very prepared. I would love the opportunity. I've been to Salisbury and seen Stonehenge, but I'd love to be able to get up and get up to those stones and not just walk around a path.
Yep.
And look at them. I would love to put my hands on them and see what they felt like, and just feel that energy of them. There's a ton of places that I would like to go for research sake. Do investigations at an old prison or an old hospital. Those are really hot spots for paranormal activity because of all the pain, the life, the death that happens in those places. And they are probably actual portal buildings in a large sense, but they definitely have a long memory of a lot of energy. So there seems to be no shortage of activity in places like that.
What do you think happens there, Brent? Do you think that's the stone that records the emotions, strong emotions that are put out there back in the day, or is it literally portals again?
At Salisbury or
well,
where?
any of these like prisons or the kind of hospital scenario?
So yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think that enough pain and anguish and emotion in a place by virtue of it being such a highly psychically charged situation, I think will cause a portal to open in a sense. And I think there are people that may even do it willingly and knowingly. With you hear groups going around and doing rituals in different places, and a lot of old buildings have satanic markings in them, so I'm sure they aren't up to really great things.
No, you're bang on. We're almost on the break, Brent, so what I want to tell people to do is we're going to be back in 3 short minutes, but we don't want you to go anywhere. And if you do happen to hear any creepy noises or anything scary during the break, well, I would suggest you just close your eyes for 3 minutes and we'll be back to keep you company real soon. And don't forget, folks, We're only the warm-up act. Brent is going to be back later with the parathon. Don't miss it. We'll be right back. There we go, and we're still obviously live on TFR right now. So, not TFR, YouTube, sorry. And for everyone out there at YouTube and YouTube land, a big thank you for tuning in today. I see so many of the same names in my chat room as I see in your chat room. It's brilliant, Brent. It truly is.
Yeah, we got some amazing listeners between us, and each individually and between us. But I love that. I love that that these people are following that energy. It's really fun.
I don't know
it's
if that,
really cool.
I mean, for me, that's a big part of almost an addiction I've got to live streaming now. I love hanging out with the audience. They bring a totally different dynamic. It's weird. It's hard to put into words. But I think people like me and you, the way that we roll, we kind of feed off that energy at times.
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you how many times I've been dog tired and just hardly able to keep my eyes open. But I'll sit down in the chair, fire up the lights, and hit that opening music, and it's like pow! It just hits you because it's a vibe. These shows have an energy of their own, and it just sucks you in.
Big time. And I'm like you, I've started to open up the phones a lot more now. And I'm telling you, man, you can find so much on the internet, and it's great. There's so much to talk about, too much to talk about. But I don't think anything comes close to like listening to a real person's first-hand account of something. Nothing comes close to that.
Absolutely, brother. I tell you what, I maintain this always. I've learned more about the paranormal and about cryptids and stuff from listening to people's accounts, far more than I've ever learned from researchers and stuff. Researchers are great. They'll tell you of established patterns and stuff that they've been able to extrapolate. But a firsthand witness can tell you, how it moved, what it did, how, little details in every story. People notice little different things and they'll put it in their story and it'll be like, oh, wow. And it'll suddenly make sense to about 50 other questions I've got in my head. So yeah, that firsthand accounts are amazing.
Yeah, big time. Now, when we come back from the break, you sent me a little video earlier on today. We can take a look at that. And this is night vision stuff now. When it comes to the night vision stuff, listen, this is absolutely amazing. And what we'll do is, we'll play this now for the YouTube audience so that when we come back for the radio, they're not all sitting there pissed because they can't see it, right? So we'll take a look at this here. And this was Brent that actually filmed this with the night vision.
So I'm facing north right now, just panning to north and maybe a little bit northwest. And there's an anomaly, and it's moving away from me. There's no reason it should be lit up like that, and it was absolutely silent.
Wow. Now, the thing is, I've heard so many stories about this night vision technique that blatantly opens up that spectrum of light that we can't see, obviously, but there's so much going on in the skies above us that we just don't know about.
Well, when I saw a UFO, it was through night vision binoculars. That's why I own a pair. And it was a big saucer above a tree about 100 yards away from me. And I couldn't see it with my naked eye, Kev. I took down the binoculars and it wasn't there. When I put them up, it was there. It was cloaked.
So is this like a monocle, or is this the binoculars you're using here?
Yep, it's the binoculars.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good, actually, Brent. That's pretty cool. And again, no noise. You couldn't see it without That's bizarre, man.
Yeah, it was just a really cool experience. But the first one, obviously, I didn't capture. But this time I rigged a GoPro knockoff into the lens and was able to capture this one.
Wow. Now we're just getting ready to come back to the mothership, tfrlive.com. And don't forget, everyone here at YouTube, please tell everyone about tfrlive.com. You've got me, you've got Brent, you've got Freaky Friday, you've got about 30 other hosts on there, Chris and Cherie Geo. What are you waiting for? Let's go back to TFR Live. So welcome back, everyone, to our very creepy and not so sinister Halloween special. I'm hanging out with my good friend here, Brent Thomas. And Brent, it's been so long, so long. We've done one show together a couple of years ago, I think. So let people know, maybe there might be some KBS people out there who've never heard of this before. When can they catch the Paranormal Portal?
Well, we are on TFR Live just like Kev is on Friday and Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time. But we also stream on YouTube Live 7 days a week at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we do 2 different shows. We do a Wednesday long version, 2 hours, Friday, Saturday, a long version, 2 hours, but every other day it's the bedtime stories. It's about an hour of me telling ghost stories and or talking about other phenomena like that. And then anywhere you get podcasts from, we are also on the Revolver Podcast Network. We're on Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, and a jillion other of them. So just look for the Paranormal Portal there, and we release 3 podcasts a week.
Now, are you not flying up the charts on iTunes or something, man? Was I not hearing big things about Paranormal Portal?
Yeah, we're like today we're at like number 26, I think, on the natural sciences category in iTunes for the United States. We're number 8 in Canada for the same category. We're in the 20 somethings in Australia, New Zealand, all around the world. It's doing really well.
You see, this is sometimes I criticize technology and things, but then you hear stories like that, and the fact that we can talk to so many people at the touch of a button. It's absolutely tremendous. It truly is. Now then, I've only got you for one more segment because you need to go and get ready for the parathon, which I hope everyone tunes into. But I'm going to kind of hit you with some rapid fire supernatural paranormal stuff now. And one of our regular listeners, Chuck Bam Bam, I don't know if he's in the chat room today, always goes on about the dog man. Brent, what can you tell me about the dog man? And from what I've seen, listen, I keep my mind open to everything. I find it hard to rule any of these cryptids out because there's not enough evidence to rule them out, and usually not enough evidence to totally definitively prove them either, which is a grey area. But the dog man, what's this about?
Okay, well, the dog man is this. It's very much similar to a Bigfoot in a lot of ways in that it's a huge bipedal or quadrupedal cryptid. The distinction being that generally Bigfoot are normally cited being very, very bulky, like weightlifter looking, but the dogmen are generally observed as more like a football wide receiver or something, very muscular, but very lithe. And they also have the reverse knees, so their legs bend backwards at the knee. But they are a dog-headed cryptid that's apparently out there, and I really do believe they're out there. They are allegedly extraordinarily ferocious in the accounts that people have had with them. Whereas a Bigfoot might stare at you and growl and then walk away. A dogman is generally a lot of the occurrences I've heard. They get right up and just make people basically poop themselves.
Would a dogman be the same as a werewolf then?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And so here's the thing with a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of different terms floating around out there. There's the rougarou, which is the loup-garou down in the French Louisiana and up in Canada and stuff. And that's described very much like a dogman. Then there's even historically speaking, there's quite a long reference for these dog-headed beings being around. There was the cynocephaly back in the ancient times that are referred to in ancient texts. There are Saint Christopher of the Catholic Church was apparently a dog-headed saint. So then you look at, of course, the Egyptian lore, Anubis being a dog-headed being. There is a historical precedent for this that would state that it's not just pop culture, because a lot of critics like to jump on the pop culture. Well, that's just from B movies in the 50s and stuff, and that's why people are seeing these everywhere.
So that's why the Egyptians put them on hieroglyphs then, because they were in B movies.
That's right.
Exactly. No, I get you, and I'm a big believer in these stories, that are passed down, oral traditions and stuff that we can see in the past. I don't think people were making these things up, Brent. I think all of these things at one time or another were as real as you or I.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think so. There's also First Nations cultures have legends of them being the guardians of portals, believe it or not. And the funny thing is I find this unique in that they are referenced that way in First Nations lore, but they are very often seen around cemeteries. And I find that kind of peculiar that, the cemetery could very well be a form of portal as well, with all those, those people having passed being placed there.
We've got a famous kind of dog over here, Greyfriars Bobby, and it hangs about in a graveyard, or it haunts a graveyard in Edinburgh. And again, that's the dog and the graveyard connection there. I'd never really put the two of them together before. And this
Hmm.
whole portal thing, very, very interesting indeed. I'll need to look more into that. And, the Native Americans, they talk about portals and mountains being active stargates. What do you say to that?
Oh, I think they definitely I don't know whether it's actually people walking through and jumping through space, or if it's having more to do with an energetic concentration of ley lines and such that whereas they can project out of body and cover the cosmos or something. I don't know. I kind of get stuck and this is just me being candid. I kind of get stuck because I have a very logical side of me too, and it's kind of hard sometimes to embody and envision the idea that things are phasing in and phasing out. I mean, because I can't conceptualize it very well, but I think that it's very possible. I just don't understand it very much, and unfortunately, we just don't know very much about it. But
Yeah, that's the
um,
way I view the Bigfoot and a lot of these cryptids. And I sometimes even wonder, Brent, and I don't know if this is too far out a conversation with me and you. This is probably quite normal to say this, but could the Bigfoot be the dog man? And could the dog man be the chupacabra? And could the chupacabra be XYZ cryptids? Are we dealing with a shape shifting entity?
ooh, there, that's that's pretty deep, brother. That could be because there are some people that like to draw correlations between UFO activity and Bigfoot sightings and UFO activity and dogman sightings, and they oftentimes paint those together. So if there are technologies, and I believe there are, that allow people to travel through the cosmos, it wouldn't surprise me that they could appear any way they wanted to. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, and over
Are,
here
are,
in
are
over in Scotland, we've got Loch Ness Monster, obviously. And it's the
mhm.
more I research into that, Brent, and add that to my local knowledge of Nessie, it's really got me on the whole shape shifting side of things because we've got something over here called the water kelpie. And this is a mythical shape shifting creature that sometimes appears as a horse. And we've got statues of these things over Scotland, and we're very proud of our kelpies. But
Mhm.
this shape shifting aspect to the Loch Ness Monster, we hear so many different eyewitness accounts, some with humps, some with no humps, some with the long neck, some with no long neck. Sometimes it comes out the water, and there's accounts of horses being seen walking down from the hillside, just continuing right into the loch and disappearing beneath the surface. So I think when it comes to Loch Ness Monster in particular, and maybe some of these other sea monsters or lake monsters around the world, I think again, we're looking at something maybe even more weird than we appreciate, i.e., it's able to take various shapes and forms.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that you could very well be right. I mean, the more I learn about the paranormal, or the more I think I learn about the paranormal, the more I realize we really don't know.
Yeah.
That there's many questions out there that we just haven't got answers for.
And how
You
long
know,
before the paranormal becomes the normal?
yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, is there a time when there will be disclosure and then UFOs won't be paranormal anymore? They won't be even extraordinary. It'll be normal. Maybe.
Well, what do you
I
think?
hope so.
Are we in that period or that window of time right now? We had 2 years ago with the big kind of announcement from To the Stars Academy and
Mhm.
ATIP and the Pentagon and all that stuff. And it feels to me, for the first time in my life anyway, that we may be getting some kind of released or controlled release of information. But what's your take on all of that?
I think we're in a really critical point of that, and here's why. I agree that more information has come out recently with the Tic Tac craft and the Navy and the To the Stars Academy talking about their metamaterials. But I think that there's probably two factions at work on this, and there's one faction that would just like to be releasing it and let it be out there, and there's another faction that I think is really trying to record or control it and militarize any knowledge that we have. Now, of course, the To the Stars Academy is allegedly in possession of some metamaterials. They're materials that we can't quite understand, but I just heard that they just made an agreement with some military group to assist in the study of these materials. And right away, that just gives me like, oh no, you know. So once you get a military branch involved in this, what does that mean? Well,
And
maybe it
also,
means
Brent, you look at their board of directors and it reads like a who's who from MK Ultra and regime change from over the years, you know? Why does a UFO disclosure group need a national security advisor?
I don't know. That's really disturbing though, and that's what makes me wonder. So even if there is disclosure, can we even really trust it?
Exactly.
Because what more do they know? They're never going to put the whole buffet out there for us. They'll maybe throw us a bone here and there, like Tic Tac UFOs and stuff like that. Meanwhile, you know, God knows what they're doing behind the closed doors.
Exactly. And, you know, the videos that the Pentagon and places like this have are one thing. And this might not be UFOs, but I still can't quite put my finger on what it was I was watching yesterday. And it was one of the viewers that watches both your channel and my channel. And they said to me, Kev, you have to check this out. And this was what I equate to, or I say similar to, a pale crawler. Now, a pale crawler is something I only came up against the other day. I've only found out about this. But then when you look at the video of, and I think it's Florida, I think, Brent, the video that we watched yesterday, and there's this creepy white peely-wally entity that appears to be hunkered down. And for me, I mean, it could be fake. I get that. I'm like you. I try and look at everything as logically as I can. However, there's something about that, the way it walks, the way it moves. There's something unhuman.
Yeah. No, I got to tell you, that's one of the only recent videos that actually gave me the willies. That was actually hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's so explicit. It's just there is something about that figure that makes me uncomfortable, like on a genetic level or something.
Yep.
It's just like I don't like it. I don't want it to come closer. I didn't want to see it, and I was just like, oh. And you know, a lot of people will say things, well, you know, of course a lot of people are jumping to rake, but then the skeptics are like, oh, rake is just something from, you know, wherever, Reddit or wherever it came from, and it's just a you know, urban legend kind of thing. And but here's the thing, the term the rake is new, but there's a being that's been described for hundreds and hundreds of years that matches that same description, and it's known as a ghoul. And so I think it's just a new name for an old phenomena.
Yeah, and of course, I'll bring that over so people can have a look at said rake. I'll put that there, and I'll drop an image in the chat room over at TFR Live as well. Yeah, this year that looks very much similar to what we were looking at in that garden, I must admit. And for people who say, well, something only comes off the internet, word of caution there, folks. Slender Man started on the internet. And I'm not saying Slender Man is walking about drinking beer in a pub near you, but he had an effect on the real world in a number of real-life cases. We had the very disturbing case of the two girls and their friend in the woods in America. And then, Brent, I'm still not ready to get into this one too deeply because Scotland's not a big place and people are still very, very raw over one of the most heinous crimes that was committed in this country in a long time. And it was a 16-year-old boy had gone and abducted a very young girl. And unfortunately, the girl died. And during the trial, it came out that this entity that done this, because I call him an entity, there's nothing human about this character, very much influenced by the writings and the drawings and the stories of the Slender Man. So for anyone to kind of dismiss something because it started online, I think maybe deserves a little bit more respect and a bit more caution. Definitely.
No, you remember the movie Lost Boys, right?
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal movie. It was
Brilliant.
a very entertaining, very well done. But after that movie, there were people out there trying to drink other people's blood because they figured they were just going to be a vampire. I mean, for some people, there's always going to be a disconnect, you know, and they're always going to be broken. And something's going to resonate with them that shouldn't, and they're going to do stupid things. But you know, you think of things like okay, the Slender Man and the rake, whether it's true or not. I firmly believe that we manifest reality. We manifest reality on a very fundamental level, and the key there is that once people start believing in something, it does become real in some way, manner, or form.
Yep.
And so you can't just dismiss things and expect that there's no ramifications of this belief, because there will be.
Absolutely. The tulpamancy, you know, that thought form.
Yep.
And John Keel, I recently read his Mothman Prophecies, and he talks about tulpas at one point as well. And it was Clyde Lewis that really first made me think about that. And it's the power of our intent. And, you know, you often hear people saying, be careful what you wish for. It's not just a cliche, it's literal. Be careful what you wish for, because your thoughts are far more powerful than you think. And if you can get 10 people, 100 people, or dare I say it, hundreds of thousands of people to start looking at something online, thinking about it, making up fictional stories about it, it's going to take on a life of its own, and you can't control it at that point, Brent.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the scary part. So, you know, as these things grow in momentum, you know, in whatever culture group they're resonating in, it becomes more and more real with everyone that starts becoming afraid of it. You know, I mean, that's like a release of energy, and it becomes real. I mean, that's exactly right. A tulpa is the perfect word. Yeah.
Now, you've been out on a couple of investigations of your own, I believe. Where's the best place you've gone, or are you planning any good ones coming up?
We're trying to put together some new ones. We kind of did it on a whim for the channel. We went to Coloma in Montana. It's Coloma Ghost Town. It's near Missoula, Montana. And it was really a cool experience. But we're basically it's an old defunct mining town. All of the buildings are collapsed. It's all, you know, basically overgrown and stuff through the 100 or so years that it's been abandoned. But it's just got a lot of history. There's a lot of stories coming out of there. And there's another ghost town near there called Garnet. And the interesting thing is, we're Garnet, they've got records, they got all the whole story mapped out. But for some reason, Coloma just kind of collapsed, and nobody wants to talk about what happened there, or nobody's willing, you know, really looked into it for whatever reason. Like, they didn't want to know. But there's a lot of horror stories coming out of there. Collapsed mines on purpose to trap people before they had to be paid, things like that, as the mine was running out. They had a bunch of, unfortunately, Chinese immigrants that had been done working on the railroad. They came to Coloma to earn their money by mining. So they mined for like a month, and it came time to pay them. And allegedly, the mine owner collapsed that segment of the mine, trapping them in there, so he wouldn't have to pay them.
Wow.
So a lot of darkness up there. It's also a Bigfoot hotspot. So we went up there, and it was just we were, of course, with Duke Sullivan of World Bigfoot Radio for the first night, and he had a big Bigfoot research group going on at the same time, but they moved to a different valley the next night, and the next night is when we did all of our investigations. So we're alone on the top of this mountain, miles and miles and miles and miles away from anybody. It's just Dan and I, Dan Pruitt. He's a paranormal investigator, and I up there on this mountain doing ghost box sessions, doing, you know, checking EMF, doing this investigation, dead of night. I can tell you, it was like the walls close in on you really quick, because if anything goes sideways, and you have to bear in mind, this is also grizzly country and mountain lion country, so it wouldn't be beyond reason that we could just, you know, have been inhaled by something very natural. But that, on top of the ghosts and the potential Bigfoot activity up there, it was incredibly intimidating.
You could have ended up as like one of the star turns on David Paulides, like missing 411 up there, dude. And I must admit, the only kind of nighttime investigation I've ever done, I wouldn't even call it that, went with my brother and his girlfriend and my mum, and went to, it was a Pictish site in Scotland up near Inverness, and a couple of 1,000 years old, a couple of stone circles there, big standing stones as well. And the reason we went back at night is because when I walked into it during the day, Brent, this place was absolutely, it was like you could feel the static electricity as you're walking through it. So we go back at night, and then this is the middle of nowhere. You're talking the back of beyond, the nearest house miles away. So we're walking into this place, and all of a sudden we hear what sounds like stones hitting off one another in the distance, like somebody working stones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then the minute we started to kind of like tune into it and listen to it, just stopped, gone. And I know, we absolutely crapped it. We went away, but then we kind of got a second wind, and we thought we'll go back and we'll have another look now, see what's happening. Nothing the second time. But I thought it was something definitely residual. It was almost like something playing back. It was like listening to the sounds that would have been happening at the time, Brent. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel threatened. It just felt like you were witnessing something that maybe happened a long time ago.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Very, very weird. And that site in itself, very misunderstood. They say in the Scottish Tourist Board that it's a Pictish burial site, and then in brackets they go, but no body has ever been found here. And then they've got a big stone circle where there's 12 big stones round about it. Now, I don't need to be some kind of archaeologist to put two and two together and think, they might have been making a calendar there. And then as myself and Scott and Joe came up with one night, maybe people did die there, but maybe it was more of a ritualistic offering as opposed to anyone just being calmly buried.
Wow. That would be amazing. That's what I love about over there too, is the level of history you guys have. It's just mind numbing.
See, we don't appreciate it because we're so steeped in it and it's all around us. It's only as I've got older now that I really do, value where I was lucky enough to be born, because like you say, this place is woo central. And I've got another guest comes on, Ben Emlyn Jones, and he says, Kev, you are living in like the most paranormal country in the world when you work out per capita. And I was thinking, yeah, you're probably right there. So I think we need to get Brent Thomas, the Paranormal Portal, over to Scotland. We'll camp out at Boleskine House for the night. I'm only joking. I ain't going anywhere near Boleskine House again, dude. No danger. But Brent, we've got about 5 minutes left. Tell people what they can look forward to on the parathon, how they can catch it, because I want everyone to tune into this.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the parathon. It's our first foray into a marathon episode. We are going to go live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/paranormal portal. We'll be live at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So I guess that's 10. That's what the hell time is that?
It's 11 on the East Coast, and it will be 3 a.m. in the UK, because we went back on the clocks this week. We're like time traveling this week, Brent. My show's an hour earlier because obviously American network. So it's confused me. How 1 hour can confuse a Scotsman? Probably go figure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll be on there doing that. We'll be just having a real open format. We've got some segments planned. We're gonna do some listener emails. We're gonna do some call-ins. The phones will be open the whole time, so it'll be going until we decide we're done, whenever that is. So again, it might be a 3-hour show. It might be an 8-hour show. I don't know. But we're just going to keep going until we can't go anymore. So if you're sitting up tonight looking for something to do, please stop by and check us out. We would love it. And then we'd love for you to subscribe as well.
Yes.
We're trying to grow our family.
I will be there. And for everyone out there, let me just bring up Brent's channel right now for you all. Let me go over here. Paranormal Portal. There we go. Portal. Oh, yay. There we are. I'll drop a link over at tfrlive.com right now, so you don't miss out on that, folks. There you go. And I'll drop that in YouTube as well. And Brent, this has been one of the quickest hours of radio I've done in a long time, and I do some quick hours of radio, and I want to thank you, man, for coming on at short notice, for bowing to my shameless asking you in front of the masses yesterday. I kind of put you in a position. I apologize for that. That's how I roll. I'm very shameless, but dude, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. I can't think of a better guy to come on the Halloween special than yourself, and I am totally looking forward to the Halloween woo on the parathon.
Me too, brother. Thank you so much for having me on. It has been a long time, and I'm not.
We won't leave it this long again. And next time you come, bring that cool co-host of yours. He's a groovy dude, man. I like him. Yeah. He's cool.
All right, for sure, brother.
Definitely. Now, folks, it's not finished here on KBS yet, far from it, because we were meant to be joined by Johnny Whistles after the break. Unfortunately, Johnny's got some stuff going on right now, but you're stuck with me, and I'm going to open up the phones, because like myself and Brent were saying earlier on, you know, it's one thing going to all of these websites and looking for all of this evidence of paranormal activity online. I don't think anything comes close to speaking to real people and getting your real encounters. So when we come back after the break, I will open up the phones I will dip my toe into Creepypasta. I got bitten the other night, Brent. I went and read a story out of Creepypasta without reading it first. And it took a horrible twist halfway through it. There was zombies eating brains, and I could feel people tuning out as I was going through it. Brent Thomas, the Paranormal Portal. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right back. Brent, you're an absolute legend, man. Thank you again for coming on at short notice, and I'll be sure to let everyone know about the parathon that's coming up later.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And thanks so much again for having me on. And it's great to see all those faces in the chat room. I'm sorry I couldn't watch the chat throughout the show. It's really small on my screen, but I love you all. And thank you so much for being a part of the shows.
Absolutely, Brent. You go get ready, my man. Go and shift now into, are you putting on a new costume? Or are you going to like shape shift into something else?
Now, this is as good as it gets, I think, for today.
Check this out, Brent. Check this out before you go.
That's
Hey, wait till I get it off my light. This came from one of our listeners.
Oh, awesome.
Check that out, dude. And then we've got this one here as well. Yep.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that comes from the John Fuller project. So if all else fails and I don't get any callers, I'm just going to scare the crap out of people for the next hour. That's what I'm going to do, man. I'll let you get going, Brent. Thank you so, so much, sir.
All right, brother. We'll be in touch. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Brent Thomas, everyone. I love that guy. There's some people you come across when you're doing this kind of thing that stick out. And I honestly think Brent, he's such a nice character on and off air, may I add. So if you haven't checked out the Paranormal Portal yet, please, please, please do. I urge you all. So like I was saying, it's just going to be me after the break. Yes, you're stuck with yours truly. I could put off the stream if you want. I'll wait to see what the chat room says. I know what the chat room are going to say. They're going to say, Kev, don't turn off the stream. Just stay with us, right? Right? I bloody hope you're going to say that. No, but unfortunately, like I say, Whistles couldn't make it. Kev said November the 3rd in Seattle. No, Russell, no, I didn't say that, Russell. I was telling people that there's other people out there saying that something bad's going to happen in Seattle on the 3rd. It's not me, though. I was telling people I'll be here on the 4th to talk about the fact nothing happened. I hope. Fingers crossed. And you know, this is the thing, folks, before we go back to the network and get back into the paranormal stuff, and we'll dip our toe back into Creepypasta, shall we? We'll see if we get bitten again that way. But here's the thing, folks. Could it be that there was something planned for, in this case, Seattle? And could it be that the people that made the videos in the first place, the ones that put it together, they may well have put whoever it is that's behind these nefarious plans on the back foot? You know, when you get people talking about what you're planning on doing, maybe that might be enough to avert some kind of situation. Personally, I don't really look at these big dates and then sit fearful as they approach because of the very reasons myself and Brent were talking about there. If you put enough energy and enough intent into something and there's more and more of you doing it at exactly the same time, you build up that almost vibrational wave. And if you get it to that standing wave, it can have an ability to have a knock-on effect in the real world. So yeah, November the 3rd, Seattle. We'll see. We're nearly there. Not long now, right? 3-4 days? Oh, I hope it's wrong. If it's not wrong, I'm going to look really silly, right? But when we come back after the break, like I say, we're going to be opening up the phone lines. Before we go back to TFR, I'll drop the numbers for all of you great people at YouTube. Here we go. Copy that there. Paste this in here. There you go. Now, I'm not going to be able to change the stream, so we're just going to have to make do with, like, an empty camera. I'm sure you can handle that. I'm sure I can handle that. Can we? I think we can. We'll see. Any of yous going out tonight? I want to hear in the chat room what you're getting dressed up as. Any sexy aliens out there? You had to be on the stream earlier to get that joke, obviously. But 2 seconds and we'll be going back live, folks. Nearly there. Take that off here. I know it's going to look pretty gimpish. I get that. I get it, folks. Here we go. We're going back live. 3, 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 on today's Kev Baker Show with me, your host, Kev Baker. Go figure. Yes, that wasn't hard to work out, right? But before the break, I was joined by our very good friend, Brent Thomas. Now, Brent is the host of the Paranormal Portal, and like we were saying, he has got his paranormal special, his Halloween special, coming up later today on YouTube, and that will be at 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 11 p.m. on the East Coast, and over here in the UK, it'll be that very, very scary and woo-filled hour of 3 a.m. in the morning. How many of you out there have woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning? Or 3:33? That's one I used to get all the time. See, before 2012, I used to talk to people about that all the time. What is it with all the threes? What the hell's going on there? So yeah, if you're maybe lying awake tonight, maybe you're a bit apprehensive, a bit anxious because Halloween's been doing the rounds, then I urge you to join me and so many others to tune into Brent over on YouTube later. So what I'm going to do now for the remainder of this show is, since Johnny Whistles couldn't make it today, I am going to turn this into not my Halloween special. That'd be boring. Let's turn it into your Halloween special, shall we? And the way we do that here on TFR is we open the phones up. So for anyone who wants to phone me with their paranormal, Halloween, supernatural, weird woo, all you've got to do is call the following number. If you're in the US, it is 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. If you're over here in the UK, it is 0044-203-393-2871. That's 0044-203-393-2871. Yesterday we had calls from Steve, somebody from Northern Ireland, who was talking about a child seen an imaginary ghost, and it turned out that the imaginary friend just happened to be the person that lived and passed away in the house previously. What a great call that was. We also had Renzo, our very own Renzo Scriber, had phoned into the show as well. It's her second time phoning in. She had forgot that she had had an actual eyewitness account of something that she was calling Chessie. Not Nessie, but Chessie. And Chessie is, of course, an alleged sea monster stroke Nessie type character that is seen or dwells in Chesapeake Bay. So let me add the phone lines here at my end, or nobody will be getting to call in. I was almost about to shout the number out there. I'd have got the sack. Here we go. People out there trying to figure out what these tones are. I know it. There we go. Let's see. Yes, the phones are... I'm hoping they come on. Yeah, there we go. The phones are connected. So this is now going to turn into your Halloween special. And what we'll do is, while we're waiting for people to call up, am I brave enough to go back to Creepypasta? Do we think it's time to go back and see what stories we can find there without, like, kind of putting the night terrors into everyone? I think maybe we could. I think it might be a good way to wait for the phones to ring. And we have a caller on the line already. This is brilliant. I love the calls. We're going to area code 717, and I believe that's somewhere called Lewistown. Welcome to the Kev Baker Show. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing? What's your name?
Hey, oh wait, I have to turn my computer off, I think, here.
No problem. You go and turn
I'm
that.
getting it.
Yeah, you turn that. You turn that down. I'll wait here for you. I love it when we get callers on the line.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm looking at you talking, and what's coming out of my phone is two different things. And
yeah.
Anyway, this is stuff, yes, from Lewistown, PA, Pennsylvania. I was talking about toxic masculinity earlier with the soccer guys.
Awesome.
Boy, I don't even know. My boyfriend and I went through. I'm sorry, I have stage fright. I'm very nervous.
Oh, don't you worry about that. Listen. What's your name? What's your name again? I think I missed it. What's your name?
This is Stephanie.
Stephanie.
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Stephanie, just think of it this way, right? It's just me, and you. When you look on the screen, all you can see is me. Don't worry about these
and all
thousands.
the people in the chat too.
Don't worry about them.
Yeah,
They're okay.
I don't like being in the spot. Anyway, I wanted to say your show's great. I've been lurking, as they say. I've been learning all the lingo, and everyone in your chat is great. It's a lot of fun. But can you turn that down, please? Oh, my boyfriend just turned it back up on me. Get me all messed up here. Anyway.
He's desperate to hear your moment on the radio. That's what it is. You should be flattered. But let me ask you, okay, how do you feel on Halloween? Do you like Halloween? Do you and your boyfriend go out? What's your take on Halloween?
Well, we're all decorated. The problem is we live in central PA. It's very rural, and we don't have a very big road that we live on, and there aren't any kids here. So, we still decorate, and it's fun. But we save a lot of money on candy because we don't have to give any out.
That's a bonus. That's a bonus. So you can decorate the house without having all of these monstrous children coming to eat your candy. That's the best of both worlds, Stephanie.
Well, yeah, that's the way. It's a lot of old people, and I'm kind of old, so it's sort of the old section of the township, where we live. So not a whole lot of kids floating around. We're all kind of beyond that point, and I guess all the grandkids live elsewhere. So
what do you make of
what
do you make of the woo, as I call it? In recent times we've been talking about shadow entities. You hear me talking about the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, stuff like that. What's your favorite kind of creepy or cryptid or something like that? What do you like to get into?
Well, I was fascinated with paranormal things back when I was a teenager, and I have no idea why, because I'd never experienced anything. I really didn't even know anything about paranormal activity, but I had this fascination. And truthfully, I don't have a favorite, because my boyfriend and I went through about a decade of activity in different homes and even in a different state. Whatever was just following us around, we couldn't get rid of it. And so, I'm still very fascinated with all of this, and I really, I don't have a solid opinion on what it is. I try to keep an open mind. Whether it's people that have passed or it's just something that's intermittently coming into our line of sight. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I just know the things that we experienced, the things that I saw, and I'm even skeptical of things that I experienced. I'm always trying to find a logical explanation, but there were things that I just could not. I to this day, I have not been able to find
Stephanie,
an explanation.
that whole skepticism thing, I think it gets a bad press because it's healthy to be skeptical. And like you say, that engages the logical part of our brain. And not a lot of these things, the paranormal, can be explained by logic, but I think it's critical. It's so important to treat it the way that you're treating it. And I'm exactly the same as you. I've got no idea what half of these things are. I keep my mind very open. I don't dismiss anything. I've had my little shadow dude kind of experience. Nothing like we've seen in Carmel, Maine, or any of the clips that we watched recently. But I think if we just keep an open mind, because, once you experience something like this, you might not be a believer beforehand, but you certainly are afterwards. And may I ask you, Stephanie, if it's not too much trouble? I mean, you say that you had something following you and your boyfriend around. Would you be happy to tell us?
Well, not anymore. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, would you be comfortable to kind of tell us what you meant by that? I mean, was it a ghost? Was it poltergeist? What was going on?
Well, we had a little bit of everything. I mean, we had poltergeist activity. We had shadows. We had smells. We had sounds. I mean, it was insane. And the worst part, I hesitate to even talk about it, but it started. He and I met about somewhere in 2006. I bad with anniversaries. I have no idea. Somewhere in the summer of 2006. And we moved, at the time I was living in this like shoebox apartment. So we moved into a bigger apartment. And that's when things started, just like out of the blue. Can you turn that back down, please? So we moved in this bigger apartment, and things started that were just kind of peculiar. Nothing really frightening, or just things like I had a little electric candles, that people put in their windows at Christmas, and around here people keep in their windows year round. But I kept them in the windows. Never had them turned on. I just kept them in the windows because I was too lazy to pack them up. But I noticed they started coming on, and then they would turn off. And I the first time I saw it turn on, I thought, well, that's weird, because I'm sure I took the batteries out so that the battery acid wouldn't leak and destroy my window candles. So one day I unscrewed a bulb, and I looked in, and sure enough, no batteries. But these things would turn on and off. So it was kind of interesting, but it wasn't really scary. It was just more interesting than peculiar. And then it progressed to like the TV turning on, and you couldn't turn it off. It would just turn off when it wanted to. The stereo. My cat would get literally pushed off a rocking chair. He never stood up. He just went completely sideways onto the floor.
Wow.
And then he'd stand there like, wow, what happened? So that was kind of what happened at that place. And I don't want to give you the rundown of a whole 10 years here, Kev. I'll have you on the phone till like next week. But suffice to say, we moved out of that place because we got a dog that was bigger than what we were allowed to have there, and we already had a dog and a cat, so we had to move. So we moved from there into this really, really creepy apartment. And that's where things really started getting creepier.
Now,
am I still good on time here?
You're still here, yeah. And I was going to ask you, Stephanie, do you think this was the same? Do you think this was the same entity? Do you think it followed you, or do you think it was something else in this new house?
Kev, that's one thing I have asked. I've spoken with people who were, quote unquote demonologists, and they said, well, you have an attachment, or you have, I think one person said you have an infestation. And I thought, well, that's great to hear.
That sounds nice.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was weird. Like every time we moved, this whatever was still going on, and it was just snowballing and getting worse, and getting more frequent and scarier. So as far as it, was it something following us? I have no idea. Did we just have really bad luck that we just found these places that had things going on? I try to keep an open mind, but I don't have an answer to that question. I really don't know.
So how did it stop? Did you have to do anything? Did you get somebody in to say a prayer, or did it just stop itself, Stephanie?
It just stopped, Kev. We actually we went through about 6 to 8 maybe years. We actually moved to a different state. We went down to North Carolina for 2 years, and we packed up. We came back home, and it just stopped. It was really bizarre, but as abruptly as it started, it just abruptly ended. And I hate to say it, but I don't want to jinx myself, but knock on wood, so far, we've not had any activity. It's bizarre. I don't know what to make of it.
That is strange. And I'm touching wood for you myself, and I'll be saying a prayer when I get off the show that nothing comes back on the back of this call. But
yeah, it's bad. I'm still scared of the dark. I'm in my 50s, and I've been like that my whole life. I've always slept with a nightlight. I feel the hair stand up on my neck if I go into a dark room. So maybe something happened to me way back when that I just don't remember. I have no clue. But let me just tell you the worst thing that happened, and then I'll let you get on to someone else. But
that's okay. That's okay. We've got a new member on the channel. That's what that noise was, folks. A big welcome to Russell.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Russell. So on you go then, Stephanie. Sorry for interrupting you there.
Oh no! I'm not really. I wasn't watching, so I wasn't. I'm just busy still being nervous here with my stage fright.
Don't you be nervous. You're doing fine. You've already stolen the show already. Myself and Brent Thomas, we've got nothing on you. This story's brilliant. Come on.
Like I said, I would have to call you back for the next 5 shows, Kev, to tell you everything that happened. But real quickly, the second place where we moved, where we were having activity, that place was just, I hated being there by myself. Even during the day, I'd sit on my computer, and I always had that sensation of someone being over, and it was always over my left shoulder, never anywhere else. And I would turn around, and obviously no one was ever there, but I always had that feeling like I was being watched in my home. And we had all these houseflies that would stick on our kitchen cabinets. And I actually took pictures of these. I had presence of mind because I thought no one's going to believe this unless I take photos. But we had hundreds of houseflies that would sit on our kitchen cabinets, and they'd never move. You could open the door to get, a coffee mug or something and close the cupboard, and they'd still be sitting there. They never went in the other parts of the apartment. I mean, we might have a housefly or two like you normally would in the summertime, but these ones in the kitchen would just sit there all the time.
That's bizarre.
So then we moved. Well, there was a lot more. Like I said, this was, let's see, this was about maybe 6 different residences. But I'll skip forward. We went to North Carolina, and we were renting a house down there. In fact, we rented 2 different homes. And in the first one, my boyfriend had gone to work that morning, and I was reading a book. I was laying on the couch, and at about 11 o'clock, I wanted to get up and get a cup of coffee. So I put my book down. I went into our kitchen and living room were kind of one big room, but I got to the threshold of the kitchen, and I feel insane even telling this story, and I was so hysterical. I never thought to grab my video camera because I thought no one will ever believe this because I didn't tape it. But I got to the kitchen threshold. I looked at the floor, and I thought, oh, the cat must have knocked over a box of rice. And then I thought, wait a minute, I don't think we had any rice. We hadn't used any rice. And then I realized the rice was moving.
Oh.
And, yeah. Oh, it gets worse, Kev. So now I just start getting hysterical. And I called my boyfriend at work, and, he couldn't come home. What are you going to do? Go to your boss and go, my girlfriend's got a bunch of maggots in the kitchen. I need to go home. So I was on my own, and luckily we had bleach, but I thought, well, to get to the bleach, I have to walk across the kitchen floor and walk over these things.
Oh.
So I did that. Yes, and when I got to the sink, which is where the bleach was underneath, I just happened to notice down at the floor, where the wall comes down and you have I guess it's molding, you have a strip along where the floor is. There was a little gap between the wall and the molding. And I swear to you, I swear on my mother's grave, this is what happened. In that hole, or in that gap, it was as if someone had put a garden hose or something up to the wall and was just pumping maggots in. They were just flowing in through this hole. And I got even more hysterical, up that by about 100 times. And then they stopped. I grabbed the bleach. I poured bleach all over the floor. I was stomping all over these things because they were starting to make their way into our living room. And I finally got everything cleaned up. And I thought, well, again, it's got to be a reasonable explanation. So I went outside. And down south, you have crawl spaces under the houses. Yeah. So I went over to the kitchen. I went over the kitchen side of the house, and I opened the door into the crawl space, and I got halfway in there. There was nothing there. I thought there has to be an animal or something that had maggots. There's nothing there. We never smelled anything. But like I said, these things were literally just flowing, like when you open a spigot and your water comes out.
Now, was this the same property as where you had the problem with the flies, Stephanie?
No. The flies were up in Pennsylvania. The maggots were in North Carolina. Is that weird?
Oh, that is very, very strange. Wow. Now, I'm sitting here, I can feel
Yeah.
like my skin's crawling. I don't know what it is with maggots,
well,
but it's horrible.
I don't have imagination. You know, I mean I do, but not. I'm not that imaginative to make that kind of story up. And I feel I'm like, okay, I'm going out on the internet right now, and I'm putting myself out there as the crazy woman who saw
No. I won't have any talk like that, Stephanie, because you're in a place where, you've got like-minded people here, and even if some people might think, well, that's a bit of a stretch, that's the thing with the audience we've got here. The audience are really respectful, and I don't think you're mad at all, and I believe every word you're telling me, because why would somebody phone up the internet and come up with a story like this? There's absolutely no reason for that.
Oh.
It's only logical, and I'm listening to your voice, Stephanie.
I really hadn't thought of that. Like, why would I put myself out there as, that woman's nuts?
Exactly. Nobody would do that.
Swear.
So don't you worry about whatever people think about your story, to hell with them. You know it's real, Stephanie. That's the main thing. And, if people want to discount it, that's okay. That's no problem. But maybe one day, they'll experience something themselves that'll make them look back and go, oh, well, maybe that woman I was listening to online, she did have a point. So I want to thank you for calling in. We're almost on the break, Stephanie. And again, you've near enough stolen the show already, but thank you. Thank your boyfriend as well.
Well, I didn't even scratch the surface, Kev, but I can always call in another time, give you the rest of the story. But thank you so much.
Well, that you see, listen, I'm going to be opening the phones up a lot more now, Stephanie, so don't you worry about that. There's going to be plenty more occasions for you to call in, and I would be more than happy to spend some more time with you. So you go back to your Halloween. You have a nice day. Thank you so, so much for tuning into the show. It means the world to me. It truly does.
Thank you so much, Kev, and I'm going to hop back in, and your chat, everyone in there is wonderful. I've been enjoying it so much. So thank you so much for letting me speak.
As are you. You're wonderful too. Happy Halloween to you. Now we've got another caller on the line, Jonathan. He's coming to us from area code 502. Are you there, Jonathan?
Hey, buddy. Hey.
How you doing, man? Nice to speak to you. What's happening this Halloween? What's going on, man?
Kev Baker, man. How you doing, man? Hey, just hanging out here. Love the show. Don't even realize exactly why I called in. I just know I started listening to TFR probably about a year ago, and I've loved every minute of it. Keeps me up at night. Love your show. Two things. When you were mentioning Art Bell earlier, I loved it because I got off on Art Bell about a year and a half ago, started listening to a lot of his reruns, opened my mind right after I had my awakening a couple years ago, about 2 years ago now. If there was one person that could take over for him, it would be a tall task, but I feel like you have the mutual understanding on all sides and can take in a lot of information. I think you would be the next best thing to take over coast to coast if it ever came open. That's just the way I feel about it. I think you'd be doing a great job at that. I always thought that, man.
Wow. I really don't know what to say to that, dude. I don't think I've ever been paid as high a compliment as that in my life, because I'm like you, Art Bell, Coast to Coast. Without these people in those places, when I went through my awakening, Jonathan, I'd have been absolutely lost. I'd have thought I was going mad, but here were places, Coast to Coast. And of course, I found Art Bell through Coast to Coast as well, some of his older stuff. And without those shows, and again, Chris and Cherie Geo, the people that started TFR, I would have been pretty lost, brother. And I'm sure when you went through your awakening, you probably thought that you were going mad as well at one point. And places like Coast, places like TFR, I think it goes a long way to helping people, right?
It really does. Like when it happened, I'm a little nervous right now. Like I said, I just kind of called in on a whim, but I just thought it'd be real good to talk to you all. When it happened to me, I knew what was going on when it first happened, but I knew what I was in store for in a weird way. It was like the universe was speaking to me directly then. But at first, I'm gonna tell you, the first 6 months, I went straight into the government conspiracies. I thought that, I was being attacked all these different ways, which I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen. I think it does to an extent, but at the same time, I think it plays a lot into people's perception of things. I think that we all have abilities, and we can't necessarily discern what those frequencies that we're feeling like. It's impulses. We have to be able to direct our impulses and be able to sift through our impulses and not let them affect us. And it is a hard thing. And I found Coast to Coast, Art Bell, listening to all those old reruns, especially.
Now, Jonathan, we are on the break. I'm going to be back in 3 short minutes. You can hang on the line if you want, and I'll speak to you on the other side. Or if not, it's been great talking to you, and I'll be back in 3 short minutes, folks. Don't worry, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Let me just hang up this here. There we go. Now, Jonathan on the line, it's not very often that I'm left kind of speechless, folks, but when somebody tells you that you might be the man to take over from George Norrie, I'm one of the most humble people I know. I don't talk up my game at all. So for somebody to say that, I must admit I didn't even know how to reply to that. I think there can only be one George Norrie. I think there can only be one Art Bell. In fact, there can definitely only be one Art Bell. And they're the very best Art Bell and George Norrie can be. And if I can be the best Kev Baker, just the best version of myself in this show, then if that takes us anywhere near the kind of level of Coast to Coast and Art Bell and Clyde Lewis and all these other people, I don't know. That is far exceeding anything I dreamt for the show. Now I'm going to go and grab a coffee, folks. I'm going to put on some creepy music and I'll be back in 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. The phone lines are open for you to call up as well. I'll give the numbers out in just a moment, and I will be right back. Just let me play this here. There we go. There we go. I'm back just in time. See, we've still got Jonathan on the line. We've got another caller on the line as well. So we're about to go back live to the network right now. Yes, indeed. I'm having fun with these phone calls. I love it. Can't get enough of the phones. Somebody had said to me, like maybe this time 6 months ago, you're going to be addicted to putting the phones on, Kev. I'd have said, oh, no. This must be another Kev Baker you're talking to. I can't do that. Go figure. We are back. We are live. And can you believe it? We're moving into the final segment of today's Kev Baker Show, our very own Halloween special. We've got the phone lines open. I've still got Jonathan on the line. I'll go back to him in just a moment. We've also got another caller on the line, area code 941. And if you want to phone into the show, all you've got to do is do exactly what these people done and dial 213-233-3998. That's 213-233-3998. And if you're in the UK, what you do is you dial 0044 203 393 2871. That's 0044 203 393 2871. So let's go back to Jonathan. You're back on the line, sir. Thank you for calling in. Now, aside from me taking over from George Norrie and Art Bell and things like that, what is it about the paranormal stuff? What kind of story is it? What cryptid? Is it the Bigfoot? Is it ghosts? Jonathan, what is it you're really into? What really whets your appetite?
Well, I guess I got drawn. You know, they said I had a lot of different medical issues when I was younger, had me on a lot of different medications. And after I had my awakening, I realized that crystals drew me in. Kind of, they brought different frequencies to me that really helped me. But it also opened up, you know, my third eye, and I started seeing, you know, I guess the other thing I wanted to say about the previous caller, Stephanie, it was good for me because I had a buddy there that we witnessed things together, multiple things that changed my life. Things that, you know, I could go on and tell you these stories maybe another time I call in. You know, that'd be great. I want to give these other callers time to speak. But there's things that I experienced with somebody, a few things that just they're unexplainable. It's a gnosis for me. Nobody can take that away from me. So it helped me push back that whole fear and just kind of go out into the world with it. But I mean, I see spirits, I see orbs everywhere. I mean, all day long, I see orbs flying out of people's heads. You know, I feel their energy. You know, people just, I mean, it's really a great world once you really open up to it. It all really started when I live right outside Louisville, Kentucky. A buddy of mine, we saw two of the TR-3Bs fly right above us one night, made two passes. It was the craziest thing. I've, you know, just this matrix that we live in, there's a lot of different elements, that a lot of different frequencies get shot in, and whatever you can connect with, I mean, you just open up, there's just different portals everywhere, and it's all imagination, and there's beings all around us, and they're all here to help us. I'm not, like I said, I'm still figuring it out, but listening to shows like yours and listening to the Geos and like even catching things like Zach Hubbard, like with the gematria, and I love listening to Brooks Agnew, he's the man, and just taking it all in and understanding it all. But it's all great, but there's the demonic side to it too, and you know, there's a reason why the Aborigines and the Native Americans, they did things the way they did, and you have to honor the earth. And when you do, the earth comes out to you and it speaks to you. But it's a crazy thing, and I just like I say, I appreciate you all being on the air. It's good to be able to connect with people like you all. It's a great thing to let me know there's other people like me out there. So hell yeah, buddy.
That's what I like about it as well, Jonathan. You know, that's why when I came to YouTube and things like that, I was so relieved, and it felt so good to know that I wasn't alone. But not only that, but I think our chat room here at TFR and on the YouTube, we seem to be attracting like-minded people. Like if we'd bumped into each other, aside from the woo or anything like that, I think naturally we're kind of coming towards people that we would naturally get along with anyway, if that makes sense, Jonathan.
That makes sense to me. And plus, even if I didn't know what you looked like, if we walked down the road and connected eyes, we'd know it right off the bat.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
something going on in this world.
Yeah, I'm totally.
In the eyes. Well, we would not. I mean, like I said, I went through awakening. I couldn't work for about a year. I really couldn't. I couldn't because just feeling the frequencies. I mean, from the universe unlocked something for me one night, and I had to start working at a car wash, start my life from back up from the bottom, and just to get me back around people. But it helped me. It trained. You know, it's crazy the different lessons, the different cycles the universe throw you in. But things happen for a reason. It got me around people, and that's one thing that I noticed. It's the eyes, and it's. it's that instinct. It's a crazy thing. We know it though. We would right off the bat.
I think our DNA knows it. I think we kind of, even if we're not aware of it, we resonate with one another. And that's why, you know, when we do have these meetings with people that we're going to get on with, it just happens instantly. There's some kind of almost like psychic handshake that goes on between people that we're not aware of. But at this time, we certainly seem to be coming into contact with more people that are on our frequency. Now, Jonathan, I'm going to have to let you go because I've got the phone lines. They're filling up here. I've never seen them quite as busy. Thank you so much, brother. And I hope you continue to listen to TFR. I hope it gives you lots of information to think about. And when I do take over from coast to coast, I'm going to make you my first caller, okay? I'm only joking.
I'm calling in, buddy. Hey, I just appreciate y'all doing what y'all do, man, and I'll be listening.
Absolutely, brother. You call in anytime, sir. That was Jonathan. Absolutely fantastic. Now, before I go to the next caller in Florida, it's really important what Jonathan was talking about there. Some of our awakenings can be a lot heavier than other people's awakenings. And it sounds to me like me and Jonathan had a pretty similar one, where the whole world as we thought we knew it one day changed irreversibly the next. And it can be daunting. It can be very lonely at times as well. But if there's one thing myself and Jonathan and everyone here on TFR, if there's one thing we could tell you, that would be that you're not alone. Far from it. And I've got a problem. One of my lights is flickering on and off here. You can't see it because it's not my main one. It's nothing supernatural, folks. I'll tell myself that, right? It makes me feel better if I say that. But, yeah, we've got... Listen, just don't feel alone. And there are like-minded people out there. And trust me, you're not going mad. In fact, maybe a couple of months down the line when you've got a bit more experience under your belt and you've looked at a bit more of the stories that paint a picture of how the world really works, you're going to appreciate that before you woke up, you were one of the mad ones. It's the people who don't see what we see. They're the insane ones. They're the ones that are going about in a trance. They're the ones that are believing everything they're told. And what's that doing? It's helping to manifest this normal reality that they say is everyday life. Whereas in true reality, things couldn't be stranger. They just couldn't be. So I think, as opposed to being mad when you wake up, I think we were mad until we woke up. It's a form of insanity, thinking that what we're being told is the truth all the time, that thinking the world is exactly the way that we're told it does work. That there, in light of every piece of evidence and all the witness testimony to go on the contrary, to counter that, I think to still believe that the real world's the normal world, the way that we're told it is when we're a child, that's insanity, folks. It truly is. So then, let me go to our next caller. And it is area code 941, Florida. Can't beat it. What's happening down in Florida today? And welcome to the show.
Shalom, Kevin.
Shalom to you as well, my brother. Yes.
This is Brian Cannot Tell.
Hey, Brian. This is awesome, dude. I'm used to seeing your name in the chat room all the time. It's great to have you on the show. It's great that you're a member on the YouTube channel. What are you thinking about this Halloween, sir?
Yes, sir, Kev. I've been listening to TFR since it cranked on the radio many years ago. And it's been a part of my journey as well, coming through things. Mainly, I called just to reinforce what you just said just now, to tell everybody that, hey, you know, there's a lot of people going through this thing, and it starts with everybody at a different point in their life.
Yep.
For me, it was 5 years old, and it was with little people. So that's kind of the thing I've had running around me my whole life, is little people. So
now, when you say little people, do you mean like the fae, the fairies, that kind of thing, or is it something different you mean?
At 5 years old, I began seeing gnomes before I even knew what gnomes were. And I would wake up in the middle of the night. They would wake me up and pull me out of my bed and tell me stories. And I would tell my parents, and they thought I just had an active imagination because I had ADHD as a kid. Of course, it was hyperactivity back then. And they would encourage me to record my stories and stuff. So I got into art and writing little things down. And from the gnomes, things kind of got weirder and weirder as I got older. That's just the best way of putting it. But yeah, from about 5 years old, I started seeing them. And then about 7, somewhere between 5 and 7, I started having times when I'd disappear at night and wake up with marks on my body and stuff. And the only part I remember of it was a night terror for many years. That went on until about 13, 14 years old. And then about that time, there was an episode that actually got recorded at Stone Mountain, Georgia. We were on a youth camping, and I had a traumatic experience with the group and had walked off into a clearing, and they couldn't find me for 15 hours. And then when they did find me, I was in the middle of the oval that they had all been gathering in to report to each other. And that was the last time I ever remember being taken anywhere. But it was so public then that it seemed like it shut everything down. Of course, it was a Christian youth gathering, so there's all kind of praying and stuff going on. I believe that probably had a lot to do with it too.
I would agree with you there, only because so many times you hear that the power of prayer is the one thing that these things flee from. Now, and I need to ask you, if you know at all, I mean, this missing time, I mean, this sounds like something I was joking with Brent Thomas earlier on about missing 411, people that go missing in the woods or up mountains and things like that. Brian, it sounds like you were in the middle of one of these incidents. Now, can you recall anything that occurred during that kind of time you were missing, or is that always kind of blanked out?
Actually, I can remember up to a certain point. And what happened was I laid down to deal with my emotional stress at the time, and the trees just seemed to get taller and taller and taller and taller and taller. And as they were getting taller, this fog started rising up around me. And then I started hearing like the rocks talking and the grass singing and then the trees communicating with each other. And I blacked out. And then the next thing I remember is my mother asking me where in the hell I'd been, that everybody was upset. So what happened during that period of time, I don't know or remember. I don't remember any of my blackout times. When I was younger, I would like wake up in the tub. My parents would find me in the tub, or they'd find me outside in the yard, or different things like that. They thought I had a bad sleepwalking problem. And of course, back then there weren't cameras or anything where you could record to see what was going on. So it was always just attributed to I was a sleepwalker.
Wow, Brian. I don't even know what to say, dude. I really don't now. As you got older in life, I mean, what kind of stuff have you experienced then?
About 18 years old, I was raised Southern Baptist. My dad was a pastor. He was fairly prominent in the Southern Baptist Convention, which means he knew all the big wigs and was, always dragging me around to all the different conferences. Of course, I went through all the horror stuff of, the occult panic and all that kind of stuff that went on. Being a problem kid, I also got put into a lot of the special programs that the church had and all that kind of stuff too. And, they tried to scare the demons out of me. That's what it was always attributed to, that, because my dad was such an influential man, his family was under attack by demons. And which, in honesty, in some ways it was, because my dad, he was the gentleman who was a professional witness against the Church of Scientology in Clearwater, Florida back in the 70s. He was one of these guys who was a big, like Jim Beam now is. He would go out and fight these battles against these cults and stuff. And maybe a lot of the stuff did come in through that, because through my journey of leaving Christianity and going into spiritualism, and then walking through spiritualism and finding out that all these different entities are not only real, have real power in this realm that we live within, but that there's so many different kinds, so many different levels of understanding of their power, their orders and all that kind of stuff, that I came to the realization there had to be a creator. There had to be something that was over it all. And that brought me all the way in a big circle back around into my Christianity in a sense, because I don't go to the church type Christianity. I just strictly live by what I can find in scriptures.
Yeah.
And I don't believe the Bible is the only scripture that was ever given to us. So
I agree with
that
you there.
causes a lot of problems for my Christian friends.
Yeah,
so.
same here. I find myself being alienated because I tend to tell people we need to look at all of the religious texts, no matter what denomination, what kind of background they come from. I think they all hold pieces of this giant puzzle. And much like you, I mean, I used to be quite a staunch atheist at one point, but it was only looking at quantum physics. Go figure, that sounds a bit weird. But also, like you're saying here, that appreciation and so many people coming onto the show and telling me about the hierarchy within the demonic realms. And it dawned on me that, you know, if there is these demonic realms, and there is, I believe there are, and there is a hierarchy to them, then it's almost insane for me to discount the fact that there is some kind of creator. And long story short, it brought me back down to having some faith as well. And I don't wear it on my sleeve, Brian. You know, people probably would classify me as Christian. I say I'm just Kev, and I believe what I believe. I could be right, I could be wrong. I do believe that there is some creator out there. I don't think our bags of water, i.e. brains, I don't think we've got the computing power to really understand that force, that divinity that put all of this in motion. We can try and figure it out, and we can try and work it out within our kind of brains and things, but it's a totally different level of thinking that created all of this. So yeah, I'm very, very glad you called in today, sir. I truly am. I mean, it's great to have you on the channel anyway, Brian, regardless of anything. But now that you've called in...
Good chat with you.
Yeah, now that we know more of your story, I mean, damn, dude. I mean, I like to try and put myself in people's shoes, but when you hear about youngsters having, like, experiences like this, and the gnomes, this is something, I mean, I've heard of Terence McKenna talking about elves and things like that in these other dimensions. So again, I'm very open to what you were saying was very, very real. And I'm also quite interested in the fact that your father was quite prominent and facing up against Scientology. And the reason I bring that up is because, you know, that it's possible for other humans out there to launch psychic warfare on people and to unleash some of this power on any given target. So I do wonder, Brian, I wonder if that could have been part of the problem here, whether you had been targeted in that way. And again, that's just my speculation.
I've come to fully believe that, and I've come to fully believe in understanding where obedience plays a lot of part into it, because the years that I was obedient to my father, a lot of time that stuff didn't happen. But the years I was disobedient in my behavior, distinctive things I did in rebellion, it would bring that, it'd cycle, and would actually get deeper and darker every time. And, you know, so there was a correlation which I didn't put together for many, many years of how a lot of that stuff works, you know, cursing and blessing. And my dad, having been in the position he was, Scientology just being one of the many groups he went up against, and seeing that now, looking back at those time periods and realizing my rebellion was during the times that he was gone doing those things for the most part. And so, yes, the home was open to spiritual attack, so to speak, and yet, you know, my own behavior played into it. I had to come to learn to accept that we create our own karma, you know. So what we sow, we reap. And
so very, very, very well said.
Things you don't understand and don't know, you start reaping a harvest of things you don't understand or know.
Very, very well said. Now, Brian, I'm going to let you go back to listening in. I've got one more caller on the line. And like I said to the other callers tonight, anytime I've got the phones open, please call back in, because this is fascinating. And I hate to say that because you've lived this all your life. And it probably sound entertaining to some of us listening to this. But folks, we have to remember these are real people with real stories. And, you know, try and walk in the shoes of somebody that's telling you one of these stories. It gives it a different light altogether. So, Brian, thank you so, so much, sir. What a brilliant call.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now then, let's
Have
go.
a good day.
You too, Brian. You too. You have a great day. Now let's go to area code 804, and I think this is in Richmond, Virginia, I think. Welcome to the Kev Baker Show. Oh,
Hello.
There we go. There you are. How are you doing? What's your name?
Hey, Cal, this is Jules.
How you doing, Jules? Is this like Starbucks, Jules?
Yeah, it's me.
How you doing? It's great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you too as well. I'm doing fine, just enjoying the day. Nice storm getting ready to roll through. So I am not going to monopolize everybody's time. This is going to be a short one, but to get to know Jules, there's a lot of woo in my life. So I'll start at the beginning from what I remember when I'm very young.
Oh, go
So
for
when
it.
I was about
Go for
6
it. Yeah.
years old, my parents were military. We were living in Hawaii, and we went to visit Pearl Harbor. So I remember going to the monument and actually like pitching a fit that I did not want to go. I didn't want to cross the bridge. I saw souls at the bottom of the ocean.
Whoa. So you were picking up on the souls in the ocean?
There was a creepy, eerie vibe going on at Pearl Harbor when you're all of 6 or 7.
Yeah, especially when you're that young.
Ago.
Yeah.
That was years ago. So a couple of years later, my father got stationed to Columbus, Mississippi. And we had to be put up in base housing because our house wasn't ready. They put us in like this. It was just off the base, but it was like a little trailer park. So it was my brother. At the time, my parents were still together, and my mom and dad. So there was one particular room in this trailer that it was just ominous, always dark, always creepy. And it was a room that my parents wanted to put me in. So I remember I would literally sleep in the chair. I would sleep in the bathtub. I would sleep everywhere but in this particular room. The room was always dark, cold, dreary. And there was one night where there was a storm rolling through, and from the bolt of lightning, it lit up the room, and I saw a dead guy hanging.
Whoa.
And I always refer to this room as the ship. I never told my parents about it. I never told my brother about it. I never told anybody about it. But come to find out that the guy who had been there previously before us, he hanged himself in that room in that spot.
Wow. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, we've got 3 minutes left and you're hitting me with this golden woo, Jules. Now, listen, the next time I open up the phones, you must call back in, okay? You must, because I get the sense that you've got so much more to tell us. And this goes a long way to backing up what myself and so many people on the show have said before. When you're a child, you see a lot more of the real world. And by the real world, I mean some of the things that adults just can't quite see. Now, whether it's the third eye that's more open, whether it's the fact that children haven't quite been indoctrinated into thinking that the paranormal and the supernatural is something out of the ordinary, and, you know, we kind of get conditioned to poo-poo and, you know, debunk it almost. It's almost as if children, they have not only like that third eye vision, it's something totally unique. And what the thing that always gets me, Jules, is you seen that as a child. That's in the room there all the time. It's just that only certain people can see it and pick up on it from time to time. That's truly weird.
And I was hesitant to call in, but I just wanted to share my story because I really do believe that children have the ability, especially when they're young, before they get in adolescence, that what I call the twilight of childhood.
Yep.
Like up until you're 7 or 8, there's so much that you remember, but you don't know what it is, and
I think it's
for
roundabout.
some reason you just don't share your information.
Yeah, it's roundabout. For me, anyway, again, this is just like an observation. Could be totally wrong. But it kind of, it feels like, I'm trying to think of the way to actually word this where it's going to make sense. It feels like when you hit puberty, something changes. And that seems to be where...
Oh, absolutely. I believe it.
Now, we're almost out of time, Jules. I'm going to have to let you go. But thank you so much for calling up today. And
you're welcome. It's always a blast watching your show, and I agree with Jonathan. You are certainly got a shine about you, and I wish you lots of continued success with TFR and your live streaming.
Jules.
It's awesome.
Jules.
I'm going to let you go, but much love.
Much love to you. Much love to everyone out there. Wherever you are, make it TFR and dinny touch that dial. Okay. Now, I'm still here on YouTube. Don't panic, folks. I'm here for a moment. I need to message my good friend Ryan in a little moment as well. I'm not sure if Ryan's doing a show tonight. I think he's trying to rope me into it. Since it's Ryan, there's a good chance I'll probably say yes because it's Ryan. He's my guilty pleasure. But listen, I can't thank everyone that called in enough. But not only that, all of you listening out there in the chat room here at YouTube, and I know TFR can't hear me anymore now, but I'm sure there's a bit of a crossover. Honestly, I had no idea how good this show was going to be. I was looking forward to Brent coming on, and I must admit I was a little bit devastated earlier on when Johnny couldn't make it. We've had such good shows this week, and it was like being back in the past having Johnny whistles. It's always a lot more comfortable for me when I can look at the screen and Johnny's there, and I know Johnny's got my back, and I've got Johnny's back. But I tell you what, you lot out there, you continue to surprise me every single time. Whether it's supporting the channel here, whether it's supporting my fellow hosts and shows over on the network, whether it's becoming members of this channel or having the nuts, because it takes a lot of courage to call up a show. I know that. I've tried doing it before when I first kind of got in touch with Joe Joseph and people like that. I used to be sweating buckets, absolutely terrified. What are people going to think? What are people going to say about me? So I can't thank all of you enough, and I'm sure anyone out there who hasn't had the courage yet, or maybe you didn't have time to get through there, I hope you know that there's no instance that you're going to phone in here and any of us are going to laugh at you. If there's one place that it's safe to come and tell your stories like this without being judged, doesn't mean we're all going to necessarily believe it right away. But I think this must be one of the most secure, comfortable places for anyone maybe wanting to share that first-time story. And it's not because of me. I'm just one small part here. It's all of you out there, and I hope you really appreciate that. I dare say a lot of hosts that they lord their audience and they make them feel good. I genuinely couldn't do this without all of you. I wouldn't be doing this without any of you. So I hope in my own weird Scottish way, I've managed to thank you all for making today's show what it is. I said to Brent when he was on, these real people are going to call in and they're going to trump everything that we talk about. And they absolutely did. And the dude, we've got a Brian coming in. I really should have pimped Brian out, shouldn't I? I should have got Brian, maybe done a new dance or something. There we go.
Happy Halloween, Kevin all. Epic show tonight.
Yeah, it's been tremendous. And again, not down to me. We had Brent Thomas to start with, and then we've had all of you brilliant callers out there. And this is your show. And the more that we open up the phone lines, the more it'll become your show. And with that comes great responsibility. You're going to have to keep coming back with the goods. I'm only joking, folks. No, listen, all joking aside, thank you all for tuning in today. The people that did come up to the plate and dialed the numbers and got on, absolutely fantastic. And to get to finally speak to people that I've seen in the chat room for years as well, that's absolutely brilliant. It makes my day. It truly, truly does. And if you wonder how it is that Kev keeps coming back day after day, night after night, it's all of you. Well, Anne says that it's because of her. She stole my pregnant pause. I was trying to be good there, Anne. I was trying to be pretty cool, right? Come on, Annie. Dang you. She's a character, isn't she? I'll get off of here. I'll get shooed and all sorts going on. But no, from myself and Anne and our little monster, or our big monster, Kevin, I want to thank all of you for everything. I want to wish you all a happy remainder to your Halloween day. Maybe you're in Australia, Halloween's already done with your papayas lanterns down there. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But I'll be back tomorrow, folks. And Ryan, if you're still listening, I'm going to message you right after I get off the show here. But again, for the umpteenth, bajillionth time, thank you all for tuning in. Be back tomorrow in the safe space. Be back tomorrow with Freaky Friday. And of course, we've got the weekend of streaming. It is almost upon us. And remember, if you're wanting to see the real change in the world, as my good friend Popeye used to say, go and look in the mirror. I have never been so convinced that all of you people that tune into this show and to TFR, you are the change. You're the change. Don't go looking for anyone else to change things out there. You literally are changing things right now. And don't ever forget just how powerful you are, be it your thoughts, be it your emotions. And last but not least, don't ever forget just how uniquely brilliant each and every one of you are. We've all got our quirks, we've all got our kind of our ways, but everyone uniquely brilliant. And before I start some kind of love-in here on the Kev Baker Halloween special, where I'm laughing in the background, I am going to bid you all farewell. And just remember, Halloween isn't quite finished yet, especially in the US. So keep an eye open. Pay attention to those creaks, those cracks in the floorboard that maybe just today you might pay more attention to. And I hope none of you have to suffer what poor Stephanie went through with those little creepy crawly things on the floor. So with that in mind, remember, tune in to the Paranormal Portal. The Parathon is going to be on. It starts at 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 11 p.m. on the East Coast, and that is 3 a.m. over here in the UK. Didn't think I would make it, but I'm buzzing now. Buzzing. I've fed off the energy that you people have brought to the show. So yeah, I'll be tuning into that. Until tomorrow, folks, keep it real. Keep your minds open. Keep looking for the woo. But you remember what I say to you. Don't let the brain turn to black goo. We're out of here.